Page 27, Old MacDonald Rocks. On page 26, they're introducing you to the G major key, the key G major, which means it's the G major scale and the primary chords for G major. Just reviewing, we've had C major, that's all the white keys, C to C, and I don't remember now. Hopefully you've been doing the C major scale, one octave up and down up through this point. I have videos on all the scales. You go do the beginner portion of it, do everything I explain in the scale, the accents and working the wrist and the whole bit. The trill exercise, yeah, it's important. Well, now we're going to start doing G major, so now it's time to go to my G major video, scale video, and work on the G major scale, one octave up and down. They printed out the scale on page 26. I don't like using music when dealing with scales. I'm going to focus on what the hands are doing and just focus on the keys. You see, the key of G major is similar to C major, except it has one black key, because you'll notice there's a sharp sign at the beginning of the staff. Well, it's an F sharp. G major has one sharp and it's an F sharp, always. So in G major, G to G, except instead of an F, it's an F sharp. That's all. The idea is, like in Old MacDonald's, you look at the key signature, it's got one sharp, you think, okay, G major. If you know the G major scale, you know which notes to play. You know which notes are in the scale, those are the ones you're going to play. The only exception to that are the accidentals. Oh, well, okay, we'll deal with those when we get to them. But ordinarily, it makes playing music a lot easier, at least reading music, if you're familiar with the key and how many sharps and flats are in the key already. You can do the scale, you know the notes that are in the scale. It makes the music much easier to read. I think they're throwing a lot at you all at once, but we'll talk about it a little bit more, I suppose, as time goes on, if I get in the mood, I don't know. But they also cover the primary chords. Well, we cover primary chords in C major, so if you understand how they work, you can do it in any key. The numbers are the same, 1, 4, and 5, 7. So in the key of G, we're here. Could be here, doesn't matter where you are, it's G to G. The one chord is built on step 1 of the scale, such as here, it's a G chord. You'll notice that a G chord is actually a 5 chord in the key of C. It's a 5 chord, but in the key of G, it's a 1 chord. It's always a G chord. No matter what the key signature is, it's a G chord. But the number is in relation to the key it's in. So in G major, it's a 1 chord. Well, the 4 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a C chord. Well, in the key of C, it's a 1 chord. Nothing confusing about that, I know this. But in the key of G, it's a 4 chord. But we don't use this one. G, we like to stay close to here, so what we're going to do is you simply put G on the bottom, you're coming up. Here, G on the bottom, here. So it's both hands. That's the 1, 4, 1. And the 5, 7, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, there's an F sharp in G major. Then we add the 7th to it. There's one more note in the here. Remember, we're staying within the scale here. It's 5, 7 chord. We usually put the F sharp on the bottom, so I put this on top. And we don't need that one. So we have the G here, and then 5, 7 is here. We just come down to the F sharp. So those are the primary chords for G. 1, 4, 5, 7, 1. You'll see them in the music. Yeah, I don't think you really need to absolutely know them right now, but just be aware that in the next few songs, we're in G major, we're going to be using these. Now let's talk Old MacDonald Rocks. 4, 4 time, 4 counts in a measure, and a quarter note gets a count. We're in the key of G major. It's one of the things we have to look at from now on when we're looking over a piece is the key signature. We need to know how many sharps or flats we're dealing with, what key we're in. That helps us tell us also which scale to go practice that day. Huh. Yeah, you practice the scale of the piece you're working on. So if I'm working on a piece in G major, I'll do the G major scale. We have quarter notes, half notes, dotted half notes, excuse me, eighth notes, chords. We can deal with this, I'm sure. Let's take it one hand at a time and make sure we got the notes and the rhythms and all that. Starting with the right hand and the third measure where it comes in. You're up here. Now what this is a G major scale going down. Now if you're struggling with this, then forget the rhythm. Just try and get the notes. Here, remember the F sharp, and then cross over third finger. It's a G major scale going down. So if you knew the G major scale, you see this in the music, oh, you just play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, rest. And during the rest, move the hand down so your fourth finger's on G. For the next line, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. F natural. They have to give you a natural sign because if they didn't, it'd be an F sharp because there's an F sharp in the key signature. During the rest, you come up for the C chord or the 4 chord. Remember 4 chord or C chord, whichever. And then again, come down here for the G chord and then here. Just the whole hand comes down. That's okay. You'll get used to this kind of thing. Yeah, it comes. Third line, you have rest, come down. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Remember the F sharps and then reach up. This is the last measure, third line. Reach up, it is a C and a D, except the C has a sharp in front of it, so we're going to do C sharp. And you hear, and that's an octave, D to D, so just reach up here. That sounds good, don't it? Must have something to do with a farm animal, I guess, I don't know. And then the last line, you have the G major scale again. Left hand, you're starting out here. Remember the F sharp. It becomes part of the hand position when it's in the key signature. So it's 1, 2, 3. During the rest, you come up to the 4 chord or the C chord. And then these. The G, we did this in the right hand, the same thing. And then you have 2 measures of rest, come down, and now we get a G scale going up down here. 1 and. Third finger, just a G major scale. You don't have to go that fast. The point is, as I said, you'll learn to recognize them in the music. You just play the scale. You don't have to worry about all those notes, more or less. And then going on 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, and then you rest all the way to the end of the line. Just it's a D way down here. Hopefully you know what that note is. 1 beat rest, come back up here. Just like it was at the first line. Put the hands together. So you're starting here and here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, rest. During the rest, come up. 1 and. Rest, and during the rest, come down. You can get the left hand out of the way if you need to. I mean, you have 2 measures to get the left hand down there. There's no hurry. It's the right hand's got to get here. Now, I suggest on the second line, second measure, if you haven't moved your left hand down here yet, do it there. Have it here before you finish the second measure, because at the end of the second measure, you got to get the right hand up here. It's easier if you're only moving one hand at a time. So go ahead and get the left hand where it goes, and that way during the rest, all you got to do is focus on the right hand. And then the third line, 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's a little tricky. Let's look at that again. It's really not that tricky, but it looks tricky because of the way the hands are doing. This is the third line. 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4 4 and 1 and 2. Rest. And if sometime while you're doing this in the third measure, you go ahead and get the left hand down here and ready to go. That way you only have to worry about getting the left hand or right hand where it goes. Otherwise, you got to move both hands. I don't recommend that if you can help it. It's hard. So try and get the one hand, if you can, move one hand at a time. So get the hand down here ready to go, and then during the rest you can come back up. And as you're playing these notes, you can get the right hand where it goes, up here. This way the right hand's already where it needs to go, so all you got to do is focus on getting the left hand up. Again, we're moving around here, so we have to plan these hand moves. You don't mess up the beat because you're moving hands. No hesitations or nothing. It's got to be steady. So get one hand, you'll get good at this. Moving one hand while playing another. You'll do it so much that I can move one hand wherever I need to go, and just get it there ready to go. So it's here. Yeah, it's a little tricky piece. Once you can play it at nice and slow, it doesn't matter. No hesitations, and it may take a while to get there. That's all right. Then we'll add in the articulation, the slurs and staccatos. Well, these you're going to connect as best you can. You can't connect repeated notes, but do the best you can. And then here, connect this. Then staccato, I'm hinging at the wrist, and short. Rest. And that's a kicker here in that last measure of the first line. 1, 2, 3, 4. This comes up on beat 4. The hands don't come up together. There? No. Keep this down until beat 4. Rest. There. And then you come down. Go through and put in the legatos and the staccatos, the slurs and all that. At the end of the third line with a hey, that's an accent. You play that note just a little louder, and they're both staccatos. Just a little more oomph is all. Not a lot, just a little bit of oomph. There are other accent signs stronger than this, so don't get carried away. It's just a little louder than where you were. Speaking out loud, the dynamics, well, you have F at the beginning, or forte means loud. You'll have to decide what loud is. What do you think loud is? And if you want, on this piece, you can pretty much play both hands the same. And it looks like the whole thing stays loud. Well, you can get a little louder and softer once you get into the music and you start feeling it. If you feel the accented note at the end of the third line is going to be very loud because the accent takes it up a notch from where you're at. Then finally we add the speed. Well, we're back to this lively thing again. Lively has to be accurate, but this. That's my lively. If your lively is this, you pick the hardest part of the piece, probably the runs. How fast can you play that accurately? Even in the left hand? How fast can you play that accurately? And that's going to be your lively. After you finish the book, hopefully you'll be coming back through it and just playing the pieces again for fun. And you'll find you'll play these pieces a lot better and faster when you want to then. Right now, just make it as accurate as you can. I'd like to play it with you slowly to double check all the notes and rhythms. There's no dynamics to speak of, so okay. I'll give us 4 counts and let's just go very slowly together. Now keep in mind this is just checking notes and rhythms. This is after you've learned it. You have to be able to play it with no hesitations or this won't work. So learn it first and then check your notes with this. 1 and 2 and ready and go, and 1 and 2. 1 and rest, and 1 and 2. And rest, and rest, 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 rest. Rest. 2 and 3 and rest.